Hey everybody, today I wanted to go over my NES collection. You all really seem to be enjoying the game collection video, so I figured why not do the next part. I had my Twitch subscribers vote on what part of my game collection they wanted to see next, and they picked NES. So without further ado, let's jump into some childhood nostalgia. First up in the collection is a game not from my childhood, is The Adventures of Bayou Billy. This is kind of a side-scrolling beat-em-up game. I can't actually play all of it. I've been told that you need the Nintendo Zapper to do parts of it. Either way, I'm really bad at it, and I'm sure there's game footage of me dying. But one day, I'll get a Zapper and we'll find a way to stream this. Next up, we have Bible Adventures. This is actually childhood nostalgia for me. I grew up in a very religious household, so this was one of the few games we had. You play through various Bible stories like Baby Moses, Noah's Ark, and David and Goliath, doing various little mini games and learning about the Bible as you go. This game specifically has a fun history for me because when I was modding my NES to disable the security so I could play bootleg cartridges, I learned that there was the security chip to keep you from playing bootleg and non-authorized Nintendo cartridges, and I was like, how did this one work? So in doing some research, I found out this game temporarily shocks your NES to bypass the security chip so you can play and learn about Jesus. Next up we have Blaster Master. This game is really fun. There are very few NES games that I enjoy playing to this day because some of them are just ridiculously hard, but Blaster Master is one of those games that's just really fun to go run around and play, even if I'm not that great at it. Again, there's footage of me dying, I'm sure. But yeah, it's a fun, chill game, and the music in it's really good too. I enjoy it quite a bit. I think the furthest I ever got in this one was just to the second level. One day I want to stream it and do a full playthrough of it. Next up, we have a very recent addition to my collection, Bubble Bobble, and this game is like ridiculously entertaining for no reason. It's just a really cute, adorable game that's really fun to play. Like in test recording this, I think I did like almost the first 10 levels. I don't know, it seemed to have infinite continues, which is nice for arcade games because a lot of them you die a handful of times and you have to start back from the beginning. This is a nice, chill little relaxing game and it's adorable. Thank you to my roommate for getting it for me. Next up we have California Games. This is a weird collection of mini games of different sporting things. We had this when I was a kid and we used to play these mini games a lot, and I remember being really bad at this game, but even playing it for this video I'm still trash at it. It's just a bunch of different sporting events and stuff. The skating one I think is the best mini game. The surfing one made no sense to my brain, and the skateboarding one made even less sense to my brain. Next up we have a classic, Castlevania. This game was given to me about a year ago, I think, maybe 2. It's a really cool game for the NES, but it's ridiculously hard. I've died so much in this, but even then, it's not like a frustrating dying to me. It's like still entertaining and makes you want to play more. So one day, I'm fully intending on streaming a full playthrough of this. Castlevania is one of those series I've never really dived into, and I really want to because I enjoyed Metroidvanias a lot. So one day on stream, I'm sure we will get around to this one. Next up is another childhood classic for us. It's Digger T. Rock, The Legend of the Lost City. This is one I grew up with. Me and my sister played the crap out of this, even though we died a lot. You're just this cute little guy with a shovel, digging around, swatting away some enemies, and dying to a T-Rex. It's a cute game. Recording it for this video was surprisingly fun, so I might do a playthrough of this one soon. It brought back a whole bunch of nostalgia and fond childhood memories for me, so we'll see. You guys are gonna have to excuse my lack of knowledge of these. I have not done a full playthrough of many of these games. Next up we have Dragon Warrior. I was really happy when I got this one, because you guys know I'm a big RPG nerd, and this is like the start of the Dragon Quest series. I haven't played much of it, I just tested the cartridge out and did some level grinding and a little bit of exploring. It's a very interesting style of game because you have to like click interaction buttons to like talk to things, open doors, use staircases. It's really interesting seeing where parts of this genre started. But one day I would love to stream a playthrough of this, maybe when Final Fantasy Year is done. Next up we have yet another Bible game. I didn't know this one existed till a couple years ago. Me and my roommate saw it in the store and we're like, we have to get that for the hell of it. The irony of saying for the hell of it when we're talking about a Bible game. This is Exodus, Journey to the Promised Land. In between levels, you get quizzes talking about Moses' life, and I presume a lot of the book of Exodus from the Bible, like the Israelites out in the desert probably at some point. The game itself is just presumably Moses walking around breaking giant donuts and collecting milk, and occasionally killing people with magic, because that's biblical. All while 8-bit Father Abraham drones on in the background endlessly. If you play this for any amount of time, that song will be stuck in your head for hours. I'm not sure we're going to do a playthrough of this one on stream, we'll see. Speaking of Final Fantasy year, another new addition to my collection is the Final Fantasy VII Demake. I'm not sure which engine this one is built off of. Playing it for this video, it's really interesting to me the way they handled the materia system. It's cool to see what they did with the art and the music to make it playable on NES. This is one of the last games we will be doing for Final Fantasy year. It'll probably be Final Fantasy year -2 by that point, but this is a gift from Retro Set Joe, and he wanted to make Final Fantasy year longer, and his favorite game is 7. So we're going to be doing a playthrough of this at the end of the event. Next up is another childhood game, golf. I feel like everybody has this in their NES collection. I'm not really sure why everybody bought golf games. There's not much to say for this one. You just swing and miss. I couldn't figure out how to drive the ball really far. Like, I assume there's a way to get a hole in one. I'm just trash at golf. So I golfed pretty poorly through the first 2 holes. Next up we have Heavy Barrel. I genuinely cannot remember where this game came from. It might have been part of the games we had from our childhood, because a lot of this came from me hanging on to my family's old NES stuff. But I don't remember having it as a kid. Granted, it's not the kind of game I would have played as a kid. It's like a top-down shooter. You're some kind of commando running through a base. It's really interesting. I had fun recording it. I'm really bad at it, as with all games, but I had fun with it, so I want to do a playthrough of it at some point. It seems like it'd be a chill game to get into. Kind of a mystery where this one came from. Next up, we have King's Knight. This game has a fun story to it. I had just finished beating Final Fantasy 15. I had been playing it a whole ton on PS4, and I went and saw this and was like, oh cool, medieval stuff. I love medieval, and it kind of looks anime. I like it. It's called King's Knight. It sounds right up my alley. And when me and my roommate started playing this, I was like, I've seen these characters before. I've never seen this game. It's like a shooter. Instead of being a ship for a shooter flying over a world, you're just a character walking through it shooting magic. And I was like, I know I've seen these characters before. Where are they from? In Final Fantasy 15, Noctis has a shirt with these characters on it, and they talk about King's Knight like the whole way through the game. And I thought it was really funny that my brain like subconsciously squirreled this away. So yeah, that was fun accidental purchase that I got, and it made me really happy because they talk about it in Final Fantasy. You guys will see what I mean about them talking about it a lot when we get to 15 in Final Fantasy year. I keep talking about Final Fantasy year, so I guess I should mention it a bit here. I'm sure I'm putting something on screen of the plan of games that we're playing, but currently as of recording this, I'm in Final Fantasy VII. It's our 8th game of the year. Next up, we have the most annoying game ever. This is Clags. This is from our childhood, and you'll notice the cartridge is different, like, and upside down. This is from Tengen, or Tengen, I don't know how to pronounce it, but sometimes there's weird NES cartridges made by them. This is some kind of like a Connect 4 knockoff, but I think it was Connect 3. I played it for a bit, and there was no music, there was just sound effects, which might have been from my Retron I recorded it on. I don't know. Either way, I didn't really enjoy this one too much, but I played a few levels, and I'm sure there's some gameplay going on right now for you to enjoy. Next up, we have Legacy of the Wizard. This is a really interesting little side-scrolling platformer action RPG, I guess, and you get to pick which characters you play as, and they all have different stats and attributes that give them their own strengths and weaknesses. I've yet to do a full playthrough of this, but I really want to. It's got really adorable graphics that I like a lot, and I don't know why, but I found the way the enemies respawn in this game really interesting. A lot of NES games, you would kill something, and if you like walk off screen and walk back, it's there again. This one's like you'll kill an enemy, then after a bit, a little circle will pop up like it's loading, and then an enemy will reappear. And I just thought that was an interesting way of doing things back in the day. I'm super excited to do a playthrough of this one day. Next up, you guys already know, we have The Legend of Zelda. I am trash at Zelda 1. I remember the only time I've done a full playthrough of this, I had to have someone walking me through it just to get to all the dungeons and stuff. But it's very fun. It's interesting to see where Zelda started from and what concepts followed through the rest of the series that evolved into what we have today. At some point, when Final Fantasy year is done, we'll be doing some Zelda games, and I'll get this one done again. But for anyone who doesn't know, The old Zelda was a top-down puzzle adventure game where you go through dungeons, killing monsters, all to save Zelda from Ganon. It's a pretty good adventure game. If you want to try out some cool NES games, I would suggest this one. Next up, we have a game I couldn't record. I think it's a lock because I don't have the piano for it, but here we have the Miracle Piano. Nothing would load beside the developer logo. I tried it in my Retron 5 and in my NES, and that's as far as I got. So I'm not sure if the cartridge is messed up or if that's a lock because I don't have the piano to plug into the NES. But this was an interesting tool where you could learn to play piano on your NES. Next, we have a really weird predecessor to Mario Party. We have Pictionary, which is some kind of weird board game and video game. There are weird mini games on the side of the screen that as you do, they're supposed to help you figure out what the picture is. I don't know what's wrong with me and Sheiky, but we sat there playing it for a bit and could not figure out what any of these pictures were. I dumb-lucked guessed Sun once, and that was correct. And that was the only correct answer we had the entire time. So there's probably footage of us failing and panicking playing a game. Next up, we have Pro Wrestling. I'm not super huge into sports games, but this one was given to me. I didn't realize there were so many wrestling games for the NES. I thought there was basically only Punch-Out, but as we'll see, this isn't the only one I have in my collection, and I don't have Punch-Out, so I was very surprised. I got my ass handed to me. No surprise there, I'm bad at fighting games. Next we have Silent Service. This is a really interesting submarine war game. It took me a little bit to get my head around all the mechanics, but once I did, it wasn't too bad. There wasn't really any soundtrack to this, it was just submarine and sonar sounds and gunfire, but it was interesting for an old strategy war game, I'll give it that. When I was recording for this, I beat one of the demo practice campaigns. I'm not sure how I would fare in an actual game of this, because I'm pretty sure the enemy boats would be moving around and I would probably be dying. Next, we have a cool, interesting adventure RPG, I suppose is what it would qualify as. This is Solstice, the quest for the Staff of Denmos. It's a weird little, like, kinda side view jumping platformer puzzle room. I think there's a game like this that was called, like, Solomon's Key that I've never played. But the way this game is, it definitely reminds me of something else. But basically, this princess gets kidnapped, and you're off to save her. And I ran in a circle around, like, probably 15 or 20 rooms, and hit a circle and was like, what was I supposed to find there? So I'm unsure how you really progress in this one. I need to do a playthrough of it at some point. But I love magical adventures with, like, a medieval spin. You guys know I'm a big Lord of the Rings nerd, so anything with that kind of medieval fantasy I'm into. Next up, we've got some really cool games. I've never played these before, really, but in playing them for recording, they were two of the few games I didn't want to put down at all. We have Star Tropics. You play as this kid who goes to this island looking for his uncle, and you're sent on a quest. You're handed a yo-yo, and it has a very Zelda feel. Like, even the naming screen felt like the Zelda 1 naming screen. You have, like, 3 hearts, and the dungeons kind of have a Zelda feel. Like, a lot of your first enemies are rats, some kind of slug thing that I guess is the equivalency of a slime, and bats, which are like keys. They've got jumping mechanics that kind of reminded me of, like, Golden Sun, where you're jumping across pillars to get through rooms and stuff. It's a fun little action RPG. I really want to stream this one day, because it's really fun. Like, it was hard for me to put this one down last night. Following that, forgive me getting rid of the alphabetical order. I wanted this one with this. It's Star Tropics 2. It's called Zoda's Revenge, Star Tropics 2. This is after the events of Star Tropics 1. You've saved your uncle, you've found him, you've done all kinds of things I don't know because I never played all of Star Tropics 1. You find this cipher that I guess you got at the end of Star Tropics 1. Your uncle has the cipher, and when you figure it out, it sends you back in time, and you're in this weird caveman land where you're throwing rocks at, like, boars and giant purple lizards and bears. There was a bear. Then you get an axe. And that was way more powerful. But still, same kind of puzzle. It's the very, like, exact same feel of the first game. So I'm really, really looking forward to streaming both of these games one day. Me and Sheiky already decided we're gonna do playthroughs of them. Next we have Stealth ATF. This is some kind of airplane jet fighter simulator that I'm garbage at. I flew around in it for a good bit and I only was able to blow up one thing. Everything else kept flying around me. So I'm not sure if it was me not understanding, like, the depth perception of it, but I was flying in circles and just kept being right beneath the enemy plane, so I couldn't get a good lock on them. If you enjoy airplanes, this might be your kind of thing, but I'm pretty bad at this one too. Next, we have some more of my favorites. We have Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt. I can't play Duck Hunt, so I guess we'll get that one out of the way first. I don't have a zapper, as I said before, so this game is kind of useless to me, but you shoot at a duck, and if you don't, because you don't have a zapper, you just have this dog laughing at you till you lose. But to Mario, that's the more important one. Mario is a classic platformer. I don't know what to say about this game that hasn't been said before. It's pretty fun. The controls are a little iffy because it's the first game of its series from back in the day, so I don't think the controls are the best, but it still holds up as a really good game and really entertaining. And one day we're going to do a playthrough of this on stream. Once upon a time, I almost learned how to speedrun Mario 1. Next up, we have a very new addition to my collection, Super Mario Bros. 2. Thank you very much to my roommate, the one that got me Bubble Bobble. He gave me this one too. Super Mario Bros. 2 is a game I've not played too much of. When I was little, me and my sister would play the Super Nintendo version on Super Mario All-Stars a lot. Even then, we didn't mess with 2 very much because it was so weird, which turns out Super Mario Bros. 2 is not Super Mario Bros. 2. What we have is Super Mario Bros. The Lost Level was the original Super Mario Bros. 2. This was a Mario-skinned port of a game. I think it was called Doki Doki Panic. But it was interesting to me because a lot of Mario staples come from this, like Shy Guys and Birdo, and I'm sure plenty of other enemies and stuff came from this too. Me and Sheiky had some fun running through this and dying a lot last night, as I'm sure is showing up on screen right now. It's a really interesting one, and I'm definitely going to have to do a playthrough of it just so I can say that I've done it before, because, like I said, I don't know too much about this one, except for that you get to play as Toad, which was the best choice they did, and I don't know why they took it away for so long. Next up, we have another very big classic for the NES and another game from my childhood. This is Super Mario Bros. 3. This is probably the first Mario Bros. Game that really feels like a Mario game to me. I think it's when they really started locking into their feel for their series. I think a lot of people have played this one a ton. It's a very fun platformer. This was the first one with an overworld where you could go level by level. You're going to different castles to try to save the kings, looking for Peach. There's lots of mini games this time. They added the mushroom houses where you can get extra items. It's a very big change for the series, and I'm sure there's tons of footage of me and Sheiky dying. We accidentally played this for like way too long last night. We just both have a blast playing this game, so there's absolutely going to be a playthrough of this one day on stream. Next, we have an interesting game in my collection. I have to fix this game. I had never tested this one, it's just been sitting on a shelf. This is Tag Team Wrestling, and I couldn't get more than like a blurry intro to start, and the game would start, and you can maybe see that I'm a rectangle that's losing. But something is very wrong with this. I spent hours yesterday cleaning it and trying to lightly work on the soldering, but I'm not an electrician, so it didn't really work. I might send this to Joe to see if he can fix it. I'm not big on wrestling games, but I like fixing old retro stuff, so I want to make sure this can work one day. So maybe next time when I do an update to my NES collection, this game will be working. Next up, we have another game from my childhood. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This game is so difficult. I love it, but it's difficult. It's like a side-scrolling action platformer where you play as the turtles, but it's not the best mechanics, so I die a lot. Donatello is the most broken. He has the best reach, so in this game, I think he's one of the better ones. But because I'm bad at this game, I lost the best one first. But yeah, if you enjoy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and you enjoy action platformers, this might be a fun game for you to check out. And finally, the last game in our collection, we have Where's Waldo? This game I had never played before last night. It is weirdly difficult. I was expecting it to be a bit easier, I guess, but the color palettes are very limited because of what the NES could do, so you're literally just looking for red stripes and hoping for the best. But as you go further in the game, some of the levels have weird twists where it's not just like Where's Waldo in a picture. Like there was this cave level where he's running around in the dark, and there was this weird space level that had these space lanes and some weird mechanic for even being able to get out of the level. I game overed in that level because I couldn't figure it out in time. But now that I got my head around it, I might do a playthrough of this one day on stream just to knock it off the backlog. As far as collecting more things for NES, the only things I really want is I would love to get a copy of Final Fantasy 1. I wouldn't mind getting Zelda 2, even though I'm absolute garbage at that game. And Kirby's Adventure I really want to get one day because I love Kirby games. Beyond that, I don't know how much collecting I'll do. The NES is a weird generation for me because it kind of came hot off the heels of like arcades and stuff where games were designed to be really hard to eat quarters. So sometimes NES games seem really hard, and I can't tell if it's because of where it came from or if it was just a time in game development where they didn't have as many great ideas. I don't know. So I'm more into like the adventure RPGs with save points and stuff versus like challenging get high score style games. Hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing my NES collection. What were your favorite parts? What's some stuff you think I should add for it? As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this. I'm sure this is going to be a really long video. If you enjoyed this video, you might want to see the rest of my collection. There's a playlist with all of the parts I've recorded so far. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all later.